So welcome everyone to the Irreverent Skeptics Hangout.
Irreverent Skeptics.
It's a beautiful thing with skepticism and science.
That's right.
Skepticism and we love science.
Boom, boom, ba-doom, boom,
Okay,
ba-doom,
now for the intro. That's your line, Mike.
Well, you're supposed to say Mike. Come on, John.
No, everyone was going to introduce themselves.
With Mr. Mike Bowler. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Okay, I screwed up. Okay, never mind.
We don't get
Mike
second
Bowler.
takes on this one, damn it.
We don't fix it in post.
All right, we'll take it from
Hey,
here.
someone's got to screw up.
That's funny. It'll be me.
Someone's got to screw up on this one, right?
Recent special guest of the Cognitive Dissonance podcast.
Woo! Oh, Mike Bowler.
That's right.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm Mike Bowler. I have a podcast, Skeptic's Guide to Conspiracy. I'm a skeptical turd.
Skeptical turd.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
I am Michael McElroy. I do not have a podcast. And I am professionally unprofessional, as you can see from the little bar down there. Oh, Lord. Now what? Mr. Carlton.
Yeah, I seem to be confused about my hat. What season is this? Hang on. All right, maybe I should. Yeah, how do I get rid of this thing? Okay,
You can't.
There it is.
Remove all
I
text.
got the
There you
eye
go.
patch now too. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Hold on. Or no, go
That's
ahead.
Balkans.
I'll catch up after you, Arno. I need to get undressed here. Okay.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Erno Marttua. I have no podcast and no knowledge whatsoever. I'm just here for the beard.
Just for the beard.
All right. Well, then I'm Carl Camerite. I don't know why I'm here, but it's fun talking to these guys. So I have no podcast either. Erno, maybe you and I need to get together and do a podcast. The Guys Without a Podcast.
There you go.
There you go. There's an idea.
I'm Brandy Madison, she-dork at large.
She-dork.
And I'm
And our
John
token woman.
Storm
I'm
again.
John Omby, and I'm hitting that.
Very
So
nice.
today,
Alive.
UFOs.
Today, yes,
Yeah,
UFOs.
today, UFOs. This may be our
Delightful.
best researched hangout ever.
I
don't
actually
know if
did
that'll
research.
I don't know that will make the quality of this any better, but we did do some research.
A to go to bed. Apologies to Mom in advance.
Sorry, Mom. This won't be as offensive as last week. There's no dick hole in a wall behind me. So.
The bar has been set pretty low, I gotta say.
Wow.
To start this discussion off, I'm going to ask if anyone here has ever seen a UFO, and by UFO, I don't necessarily mean spacecraft.
Spaceship?
I have seen a UFO some years ago driving in downtown late, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and saw something flying above my car, I thought, and it seemed like whatever it was seemed to be moving really quickly, not making much noise, and seemed to kind of be tumbling. And I immediately recognized that, wow, I have no idea what that is, and that may not be what I think I just saw. Like, I don't know if the description in my head matches what was actually in the air. It could have been a helicopter, and I might have just interpreted it falsely.
Yeah.
So I have seen a UFO in that I saw something that I cannot identify.
I saw something while driving through Pennsylvania once that I thought was a UFO. Well, I guess it was unidentified, and it looked like it was flying. It was some
hey,
part of the
we're having an
country.
earthquake.
Oh, dear.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it just shook the hell out of my whole place.
Really? Awesome.
Dude.
That or somebody just ran into the building.
Wait a
Or
minute,
it's
look
the
out.
aliens.
You know,
Maybe it's the
John,
aliens.
John, you need to look at the roof of the house. Something
It's the
might
thing
have
we
landed
saw.
on
It's coming back.
it. Landing.
There's been fracking near here, maybe. I don't know.
It's just
Oh,
it's just planes filled with Arabs. Don't mind it.
Holy
Sorry,
shit.
oh no.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Wow.
Oh, God. Okay. So now that the natural disaster has occurred,
Yeah, what's up with our podcast?
and there was an earthquake. So I was driving through Pennsylvania, in a part of the state I'd never driven before, and it was late at night, and I look over to my side, and I see, like, just alongside me, but apparently up in the air, these lights traveling alongside me off in the distance. And I had no idea what it was, and on the way back, I was driving in the daytime, and I realized, oh, there's another road up there on the side of a hill that I didn't know existed, and it was headlights.
Very cool, though. It's so believable when you see it like that.
Yeah. So I'd never been there before. I had no idea what the lay of the land was. I didn't know there were other roads up there, but it just looked like these lights were traveling alongside next to me.
I do a lot of echo.
Brandy, why are you on there twice?
Okay.
So, as a photographer that does a lot of nighttime photography, I of course have a shit ton of lights I can't explain on my pictures, like just cars on high hills, like you said, something flying that leaves like a trail, dust, whatever. It's
I think you mean orbs. Yeah.
It's just something you can remove in post.
I've never had a UFO, but when I was a kid, it was a UFO at the time, so I don't know if that qualifies. But it was ball lightning. It was plasma lightning, and I remember distinctly. I was in my driveway shooting baskets, and heard this bang. And I turned around, and there was this, just like you see on a YouTube video, this glowing ball that was maybe, I don't know, about 12 inches across in diameter, just hovering in midair, sparking everywhere, and it literally went down the street for, I don't know, maybe 20 yards, 30 yards, and I'm following it at great distance. And it all of a sudden exploded. I mean, it just went kapow and was gone. And at the time, I had no freaking idea what that was, but it was kind of cool.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It was an angel.
It was an angel.
Crashing,
a drunk angel.
That's how they go
while
out,
intoxicated. Yep.
I thought ball lightning was not a real thing. Maybe I'm mixing that up with something.
No, it is a real thing.
Oh, okay.
It's there's a whole bunch of different phenomena that have been called ball lightning, and some of them are just unknown exactly what they are.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, Dumbass is here. Hi, Dumbass.
Hey, dumbass.
Ball lightning is pretty ill-defined. It's not. It's probably not one phenomenon.
Oh,
Right. Well,
okay.
never-
I remember
never
there was
seen it.
controversy at
Yeah,
least.
never seen it since, but that one time I do remember it. But
Neat.
So, welcome, Dumbass. Dumbass, have you ever seen a UFO?
Uh-oh.
he's there twice too.
He's in the call twice. Okay.
He'll be sorted out shortly, I'm sure. There he is.
Hey, ho.
Half of them.
I see. We have been joined by Dumbass. The Dumbass quotient has increased.
So could somebody please observe Dumbass's picture so that he stops being in two quantum places at the same time? Could we?
I just looked at it. He's okay.
Could we collapse the wave function and just get one of him, please?
Schrodinger's Dumbass, is it?
Yes, exactly.
I can eject the second one, but I don't know if that will remove both. So I'll just leave it until it drops out on its own.
I don't know. Okay. So we were discussing our UFO experiences. Dumbass, have you ever experienced an UFO?
UFO?
I don't know if he hears me.
I'm not hearing
Yeah, I
Dumbass.
said you.
Oh, he's.
There we go.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I kept on clicking on that unmute button and it wasn't responding.
Yeah, you had some weirdness going on. Oh well.
Yeah, so you have a second one of me in there? Yeah.
A blank one of you. Yep.
Yeah, I can
I
inject
don't
it.
know
Maybe
what
an
happened
apple
there. The thing just froze, I don't know.
It's a cam clone.
Uh-oh. No, you're still good. We hear you.
UFO. Now let's see, there was one time where I saw this light in the sky and I thought it was moving a little too fast, to be an aircraft, but I figure it was probably just, because I live close to a hospital and they're always bringing in people by helicopter, I figure it was just a helicopter, and it only seemed to be moving fast from the angle that I was looking at it.
That's not a Nazi flag behind you, is it?
What, me?
No, behind Dumbass.
I don't know what it is. I'm at my sister's place. This is.
Uh-oh.
It sure looks like an iron cross.
It does.
I don't
I'm
know
a
what
little
that
worried that your sister is a secret neo-Nazi.
You just found out about it right
That's definitely not a swastika.
Okay.
Like a Celtic cross or something, maybe? I don't know.
Anyways.
So I was going to start our non-personal anecdotes with Phoenix Lights.
Good stuff.
That was when I thought about doing UFOs. That was the first one that came to mind. I don't know that I'm well versed on it, but welcome. I don't know how that just happened, but you're back twice again.
Well,
It's the aliens.
That's right.
I know that I am apparently living in a hotbed for aliens only because I looked at the National UFO Reporting Center site, which does it by city, and I have at least, and I'm in a little town here. Well, it's a suburb, but I have at least 8 people who have seen UFOs in my town in Hickson, Tennessee, and they list the dates and they list the what they said they saw. The first one, if anybody's interested, I think we can dismiss this one pretty easily. It says this was on July 23rd this year, and or July 3rd, I'm sorry. It says UFO sighting report on July 3rd at approximately 10:30 p.m. I was gathered with 4 other family members in Hickson, Tennessee after viewing the fireworks display provided by Camp Columbus. It was an overcast evening and the display was inspiring. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. The flying objects that we could not identify were southwest from our vantage point on the tent camping. Two were on the same plane of approximately 40 degrees up from the horizon. One was higher at approximately 45 degrees. The sun had gone down about an hour earlier, so it's possible the objects were reflecting the twilight. The first thing that appeared odd to me was the uniform brightness. The color was also a uniform glowing orange. I don't suppose that had anything to do with the fact the sun just set. There was no reference for distance, but it appeared that the higher orb was at a greater distance. It was stationary, but the lower 2 were closer together and moved erratically, as if repositioning very easily. I was watching very closely, and my son-in-law was working on getting his phone to take a video, but he could not see the objects on his phone display. I believe that the smoke from the display passed between the lower objects and our perspective, but others in our party say that they instantly disappeared. We all agreed that it seemed that the objects were admiring the fireworks display.
That's
Wow.
talk about imparting a motive to us.
Yeah, that's what I
unknown
was gonna say.
objects.
That's like people who anthropomorphize their pets. Like, no,
Hey now,
dude,
hey now.
I'm just saying, like,
My dog was
saying
angry
like
at my
you-
boss for not giving me a raise.
Crazy
yeah,
colors
it's
and
something like
regiments.
that. That's what I'm saying. It's like, well, it was admiring, this UFO was
Because your
admiring
dog
the lights.
understands the concept of boss and
Did it,
praise.
did it send them chocolates and flowers?
Well,
Thanks for the likeness.
I mean, what strikes me odd is that it seems very unusual to me that we could have beings so advanced that they can travel millions of light years faster than the speed of light, and they're still impressed by a fireworks display in Hickson, Tennessee.
No, what they are amazed by.
Well, they're also
Ooh,
impressed
tiny
by line
lines.
drawings on the ground.
Oh, Nazca lions. Yeah, they do
Yeah.
love some giant spiders and whatnot.
Maybe they're
Because-
in here for the primitive art.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Because that's what you would
Maybe-
do when you fly to a foreign planet is
Could
draw
be that
big
they-
pictures of native life.
Or they're amazed by the crowds of people enjoying exploding things in the sky.
Just keep in mind, I have 8 of these, so at any point during this, if it gets slow, let me know and I'll read somebody else's.
So what were the
Oh.
Phoenix Lights? I barely remember.
Yes.
I just remember it was
Okay,
explained.
and in
to tell.
1997, I believe it was. Let's see, March 13th, 1997. Quite a number of people photographed and videoed a series of, as I recall it, a series of straight line of lights
Yeah.
hovering in
Lights
the
that
sky.
appear to be
Some
in
people thought it was over Phoenix. As it seems to be, as it turns out, that the lights were flares that were dropped by A-10s from a nearby Air Force base, which was is it Goldwater Air Force Base, I think it is.
Hmm.
Sounds right. I'll have to find it. Oh no, Luke Air Force Base. Sorry. And the range is Goldwater, Berry and Goldwater range from the Luke Air Force Base. That's been there were so many people that photographed it, so many people that saw it, and quite a number of people who had stories to tell about what they'd seen that night. It's one of the more, I don't know if it's one of the most popular, but it's certainly one that's got a lot of coverage and a number of people corroborating. One of the things I noticed about that, I listened to that Skeptoid episode on it this morning, and I had done some reading recently about it. One thing I recall thinking was when same thing I thought when I was driving and saw something in the sky above me. Was it's really hard, especially at night, to gauge distance from something if you don't know what it is you're seeing, and you don't really know how big it is. It's hard to gauge distance or speed. If it's something that, if it's a bird, then you have an idea of how big a bird is, so you can kind of gauge how far away it is from how fast it's traveling. Otherwise, our brains will try and do some pattern matching and calculation, but it can be very inaccurate, especially without any good frame of reference. I assume that's a lot of what happened here.
Well, I think even with a good frame of reference, I mean, it takes somebody and put them in a car and then ask them to estimate the speed of a car going, the opposite lane going the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
You're close, relatively speaking, and people probably will still be way off.
So I've got, if you look at my screen now, I've got some pictures of the Phoenix lights.
Oh, wow.
This is the line of lights here you see. These are the lights themselves, and this is just the lights of the city.
Yeah.
And the thing about the story is that they said that these things disappeared, or appeared to have disappeared as they dropped down into the distance. And people thought that they were these things like traveling somewhere very quickly, but if you take a daytime photo of the same area from the same angle, there's a pretty clear mountain range here that they fell behind. And it puts them... Putting them behind the mountains puts them in the area where they were doing some sort of nighttime drills involving flares, like the Air Force was doing.
And don't flares go off, go right, and then go dead pretty quick anyway? Even if there were no mountains, it would.
No,
just
they
flare
actually
up
last for several minutes.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I've never used them.
They fall slowly, a little over 8 feet. Was 8 feet per second at first, and then as they burn, they lighten up their weight, so they fall even slower.
Yeah.
It was the Sierra Estrella Mountains. That's the name.
Yeah,
so
there are different kinds of flares, though. But the ones that are used to light battlefiels, they are actually long burn.
So
because you need
these are the ones I was talking about that the Air Force had, or the Air National Guard had said were dropped that evening from the
so this
number
here
of 8 pins.
This is a photo from the newspaper. I don't know which newspaper this is, but I love that people draw in the spacecraft.
Yeah.
And this has nothing to do with the actual Phoenix Lights pictures, because nobody got pictures during the daytime. They were all nighttime photos.
Well, I bet on page 2 of that newspaper was the new Bat Boy story.
The new Bat. Wait. There's an update to the Bat Boy story. What from the
well,
one?
This was in '97. This was in '97,
Yeah.
so at the time, I'm sure there was a new Bat Boy story.
That is fascinating. I remember that as a kid.
This photo here is a comparison with another photo of flares, similar flares.
Wow,
to
it's
give you
much
kind
more
of an
impressive
idea.
when they're lined up.
Yeah.
They're lined up. That actually looks like it could be part of a disc, but falling kind of separately.
Yeah, but I get the feeling. I think this photo was taken much closer to these flares than anybody got to these ones. So that's why you still see like the smoke trails.
Was it about 50 miles? I think it was, or they said.
It was a pretty good distance away.
Yeah, but you know what the ones on the bottom look like to me? They look. Can you go back to that? Sorry, Michael.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, the ones on the bottom, if you look at them closely, it looks like you're not seeing the flares, but it looks like there's cloud cover beneath them, and you're just seeing the diffused light through the clouds.
Well,
that's
possible.
But I'd have to look at the weather report from that day.
It is kind of impressive, though. With no other information, I just saw that would be like, wow, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without knowing what kind of camera took it and what kind of filters were being used on that camera, it's hard to really infer much info from that.
From a photo that has only light sources, it's pretty much impossible to
I'm not going to know how far away it is, how big they are.
Speed,
well, that's the thing. I mean, couldn't you, for example, if there was cloud cover there, just hypothetically here, I mean, I could imagine that you could go up in a helicopter just barely above that cloud level, and on the helicopter, on the landing gear, have attached 5 spotlights, bright spotlights, pointed in different directions, different angles off of there in a line. And so from below the cloud cover, it would look like 5 individual discs of light moving, obviously, because the helicopter's moving, and all moving together, in a pattern. I don't know.
Yeah, and you would get the flares to blink if you have small wafts of clouds, so that they move past it. So you might make them seem like they're moving really fast, because you just have wafts going, and then they are relocated.
I think we should do that. I think we should do that. I think we should get a helicopter on a real foggy night and go up there and scare the hell out of,
Yeah.
Oklahoma City. John, come on. We can do that.
Yeah,
Start a
a
panic.
helicopter in Oklahoma City is not going to scare anybody here. They might try and shoot it down.
This is
Maybe a
John.
Kickstarter.
I got my rifle.
Yeah,
So,
it might be
we got our
dangerous.
first-
You're right.
We got our
Yeah.
first Q&A. Thomas Camille says hello. So, hello, Thomas.
Howdy, Thomas.
Hey, Thomas.
If you have a question, feel free to ask, and we will answer.
Doubting Thomas?
Perhaps. So I remember hearing and reading that there was an official from the Luke Air Force Base who that evening news crews contacted and asked if there was any. I guess maybe they asked if there were any flares or any particular. If he knew what the source of these lights were, and he at the time said no, he didn't know, and that he didn't know if they were dropping. As far as he knew, they weren't dropping any flares, and so a number of people have
Which, of
used
course,
that
doesn't mean much.
well,
Just
a number of
doesn't
people
know
have
about
used
it.
that. A number of people have used that. You know, like, well, look, even this official says that they weren't
No,
dropping
they weren't.
flares, but
Yeah.
well, yeah, well, and when he said there was no, they were not operating over the city of Phoenix, which is true if they were operating over the Air Force Base, but the perspective
Off
could
the
be skewed
distance.
such that someone thought it was over the city.
Yeah.
And also, just because they're doing something in this training operation doesn't mean that he would know all the details of it as it was going on.
Also doesn't mean
Yeah,
that they'd be able to tell the
and-
public about it. I mean,
Yeah, that's like I'm not even allowed to say where I would fight if a fight broke out. So military, I
local
suppose
bar?
every military force in the world
yeah. On Independence Day.
is pretty freaking in denial of any claim you make. They are just going to answer maybe
Yeah.
or maybe not or something.
I could
as
tell you, but I have
evasive
to
as
kill
that.
you. Is that what you say
So-
in Funland? I could tell you, but I have to kill you.
So the job I had before my current job, I worked for a nuclear energy research company, or that did research for the Navy, and we'd often find stuff like specific technical details of the Navy's reactors popping up on Wikipedia, and we could neither go in and confirm them or deny them or remove them from the page, because that would be some sort of government intervention in this information, and any sort of talking about it would be a breach of security. So I'm not at all surprised to hear a representative of the military saying, I don't know of anything that happened here last night or whatever.
Did anything happen
So-
here? Not as far as you know.
they are allowed to not be honest about information that they are not allowed to talk about. So
Thomas wants to know if any of us speak French. I don't.
I would say
we will
French,
have fun.
very, very little.
no.
Oui, mon ami.
No.
Not enough to be helpful.
Really,
Just enough to insult you
I
and
used
make
to be
you mad.
fluent in French. I went
Yeah.
to a French immersion school from grades 1 to 5.
yeah.
Why?
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? I remember that.
No,
from the-
monsieur.
Easy,
No.
easy,
Yeah.
easy.
Okay.
Easy killer.
Michel,
Ay, ay,
my
ay.
bad.
So
Okay.
beyond the Phoenix Lights, anybody have a nice
Well,
nice story
on
they
the-
want to talk about? Or
Before we wrap up the Phoenix Lights, I'm
sure.
going to say we've got some info that I will post on our comments. So anyone that's watching now or sees us later wants to follow up what we've read.
Well, does anybody think it's possible that aliens could visit us?
Well,
I do.
Sure.
possible?
Possible.
I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
No. Really?
I
mean-
don't
Let's
know
go. Hang on.
why
Let's
they
go.
would.
Let's go one after the other. But let's have everybody answer. So Mike Bowler, you're first on my lineup here. So what do you think of that?
I mean, I'm open to the idea that there are other extra world life, and they could be visiting us. It just, I want to see proof. I want to see real proof. I don't want to see these, a smudge on a photo, or a.
Well, aliens are blurry, Mike.
Well, apparently, but no. I mean, I want real proof though that they really exist. I don't want someone see that that smudge or that whatever. I mean, I want to meet the aliens. That's the.
Yeah.
But until that happens, I mean, a lot of this stuff is bullshit.
Yeah, and the claims we have from people who say that they have met them are pretty flimsy.
Yeah.
Why are they obsessed with
So-
anuses? That's what I want to know.
Michael McElroy, your answer to that.
I would love to see aliens visit us. The idea that we are the only planet in the world, or the only planet in the world, the only planet in the universe with life on it, just burns me. I can't think that would just kill me if we were the only thing out here with life. But the thing is, when we talk about aliens investigating other planets and acting as these like intergalactic spacefaring species or whatever, we're turning them into people. We're like making them humans and thinking that they would think the same way we do. So, I mean, who's to say that this vastly technological species from some other world would have any interest whatsoever in investigating the universe? So, I mean, if we talk about how we think that they would come here, we're kind of giving them a human mind instead of whatever mind they would have. So
could it be that aliens are actually humans, just some guys who have like an anus fetish or something, and they go around sleep gassing people and tying them and just probing them?
Serial
Pretending like
rapists
they're
rather
aliens?
than aliens. Got it.
yeah, but I mean, I think as far as the stories of that people say that we actually have been visited by them, no. I mean, you think of a species that's capable of interstellar travel, something that with our technology, or even with technology that we can fathom, would take hundreds, if not thousands of years to get to the nearest star that has a planet that could be hospitable to life. Somehow, they're going to crash into the desert in Roswell, New Mexico, or they're going to probe some guy's asshole, or carve patterns into grass, or draw native species on our planet in huge rock lines and whatever. And come on, this is not what they would do. If they had some plan to come here, they've obviously thought this out, and they have all sorts of stuff that they would be doing. They would probably be scientists, if anything. Right. They would be people who have an interest in learning about life elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
Aren't you now attributing human motives to them?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking that if they do want to investigate another world, they wouldn't just hide somewhere. Like if they have the technology to come here, they probably have the technology to know that we're technologically inferior to them, and they would have no reason to fear us.
Yeah,
okay,
but
so
maybe
before Carlton, hang on, Carlton, before you answer, we got a question from Bill Buffalo, and I saw that Bill. We'll answer you in just a minute. We'll briefly go through everyone else on this. So go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, now see, I would like to think that there are aliens, and I don't have a problem thinking that maybe they do exist elsewhere in the universe, like Michael said. I don't think they could have visited our planet. I don't even think would have. I think could have.
It's just prohibitive.
It is. I mean, there are so many things that would make it virtually impossible to do. The best one, or the most interesting one that I just read this week, and I didn't realize before, is that even if you could travel at the speed of light or beyond the speed of light, they said it would blue shift all of the radiation, all of the light, which basically means it would turn it all into gamma radiation. It means it would fry anything. There's no way you can stop it. Not even with huge sheets of lead, 6 feet thick, and so there'd be no way to protect yourself from that. And that was just one, argument. There's a million other arguments. I don't see how they would ever get here. But I would disagree with Michael. Well, not disagree, but think that I'm not sure it would be scientists. I think if I imagined our species getting to that point, if it was feasible, I would imagine it's probably military. I would. I'm serious. I think it would be because they would fear what's out there. And so who are you going to send to make first contact? I'm going to send military, I don't know, we'll kick their ass first, or at least see what's coming. I don't know. It might be scientists, but who knows?
Yeah, that's what I mean when I talk about like imputing human motives to them. Is like fear of the unknown is definitely a very human thing.
Right.
Lots of animals don't seem to be very afraid of the unknown. So.
That's true.
I think it's a mistake to say that because we don't know a way that it can be done that it probably isn't being done or can't be done anywhere. I mean, that's just the exact. It's the argument from ignorance that people often use to say certain things. Oh, well, that's what people used to say that things were impossible to be done without alien hands, like the pyramids or. Anything that you've got the Stonehenge. I can't think of a way it can be done. I don't know enough to know if it can be done this way. Therefore, I don't think it can be done by humans or that.
There are certain limitations, though, like the speed of light limitation is going to kill.
Yeah, I
Our
think there's a
hope- I mean,
difference.
Well, maybe, but there might be a ways around that. We don't know.
I mean, the only ways that I've seen that have been described as feasible for overcoming things like the speed of light is some sort of a mass drive that affects gravity and pushes you along by bending space. And you need some huge amount. I mean, maybe they can do that. Maybe they can do it.
But I think
maybe there's other things that we
significant-
haven't even thought of yet.
right, but I think it puts it in the same category as God. In other words, given what we know, it's not rational to believe it's possible.
Let's let everybody else answer real quick. Erno, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, my thoughts are pretty much the same as everyone else. They wouldn't be doing what they're doing here, what they are claimed to be doing here. Probably there may be, let's not say probably, but there may be physics that allow faster than light travel, and we just don't know about it, because if you told to Abraham Lincoln that we can talk to a guy from Finland can talk to guys from the US with like a second of delay, he would be like, "Yeah, you're not."
Finland, what?
All right,
Don't you mean Russia?
Go Reds!
Yeah.
I mean, whoops, go Whites, whatever.
Randy, your thoughts?
I welcome our alien overlords, if they indeed are watching. I'll be the first to roll over on my own species, because if you watch any kind of imperial, movement, the first people to roll over and just, do what they're told, those people tend to fare better than everybody else. So I'm willing to do that.
And when you finally get independence from your overlords, you have your family who's already rich from being under the overlords.
Yeah.
So you're doing your offspring a favor too.
Yeah. So I don't have offspring, but I'm willing to welcome our alien overlords, and I hope there are aliens, and I hope all of the crazy stuff is true. I would love them to visit. I would like to know more about these other exotic places where they're from, the technology that got them there, why they came. I mean, it would all just be endlessly fascinating, but do I think it has happened? No, and certainly they're not going to pick the hillbillies and the cows to start there. Certainly
not to mention, I could do with a few anal probes.
Hey-o.
Couldn't we all?
So there's that.
So my thoughts on that are I really want it to be a thing. I want there to be other life forms traveling across the galaxy or the universe to visit us, and I hope one day that we would see some kind of proof that is in fact happening. I have not seen anything compelling enough to convince me that that's the case. One of the things about physics as we understand it, I'm going to throw in a sci-fi reference here. There's a sci-fi book that's really great that there's basically a rift, if you will, or something like that, where different cultures, different life forms have kind of met up, so to speak. And one thing that was an interesting idea was that all these different species or life forms have their own understanding of physics that didn't necessarily jive with everyone else's, and yet it all seemed to work. But that's interesting. It just made me think, like, that certainly that's sci-fi, but like to think that the laws apply as we understand them may not be the case somewhere else. I don't know. Who knows?
But
that's an interesting, fun idea, and I'm not advocating it. I think that's the thing. I just think it's kind of fun to imagine.
For alien beings, it would be more feasible that they would send some kind of probe robots first. Like we would send out Voyager into the vast distances of space. They would probably do the same. They would just send a robot of some sort, like a semi-intelligent satellite.
I tend to agree with that. Let's answer some of these Q&A questions. Bill Buffalo, sorry for taking so long. You asked, do you think they're spirits or life form? As in they are, I think is what he means.
Are they spirits or physical beings?
Right, like so maybe, or like
are they
non-corporeal, interdimensional? My thoughts on that are if in fact they exist and visit us, perhaps. I don't think that is the case. I think if that's the case that we're visited, then yeah, perhaps.
I would think they would be some sort of biological. I mean, I don't even know what spirit really means, other than kind of vague.
Right. I leave that kind of the open. Like I'm not saying it can't exist, but I don't think it does exist. Is how I would say.
I hope they do. I hope there are some out there, but so far not convinced.
Well, could it be like there was remember there was that Star Trek episode where it was like a proto-Vulcan planet, and they were observing this planet, and they built basically a duck blind into the mountain, right? Okay, remember that one? I mean, maybe aliens. Maybe that explains the crashes in Roswell. Maybe they're here and they are actually observing us
to see how we would respond.
Every now and then they go out for a beer, and somebody crashes a spaceship. I mean, I don't know.
We go around and grab a cow.
Somebody bring back a pizza. We're all hungry, and so I don't know. I suppose you could try to stretch here what it could be, but I suppose if they've got the technology to get here, I would think they would have the technology to observe us secretly, surreptitiously, and so we wouldn't know.
Yeah, if they can get here, travel across interstellar space, they would be able to hide from us. So,
Eric Sealer, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, asked, what about neutrino particles?
I think that was in the context of our discussion of faster than light travel that he asked that question, because there was a story about neutrinos going faster than light.
Yeah, but that was debunked. Like the study, they had a problem with the faster than light the neutrinos. They had a problem with the study. Yeah, they actually found the broken wire or something. Yeah.
And because science is awesome, who first posited the problem with the faster than light neutrinos, the people that detected it said,
William Lane Craig.
Somebody help us figure it out. This cannot be
right. So I found there's actually an article on Wikipedia called the faster than light neutrino anomaly, and it says in 2011 the Opera experiment mistakenly observed neutrinos appearing to travel faster than light. Even before the mistake was discovered, the result was considered anomalous because speeds higher than that of light in a vacuum are generally thought to violate special relativity. And they figured out that, I'm trying to find exactly what it says here. There were errors with, like, in the cabling or something, or it was a little more difficult than that.
Yeah, it was
measurement errors, basically.
It was a loose cable.
Loose cable, yeah. But isn't it? But how does that? Now that we're into this, I'm just curious. I mean, because you still read about quantum entanglement. That I can separate two electrons that are entangled across the universe, literally, and what happens to one happens to the other is reflected by the other instantly. How do you account for that in the absence of faster than light travel?
Well, I think
I'm not a physicist, so I'm not going to answer.
I can't say this for sure, but I think I've heard that the transmission of the information moves through space at the speed of light. It's not actually instantaneous, or something. I mean, the thing is that it's information transmission rather than matter transmission, and it's really only material particles with mass that can't travel the speed of light.
Well, isn't information matter?
No.
Really?
It's I don't know I really don't know the specifics, so I can't say anything for
well, it's not UFO-ish, so I guess we should we'll have that.
But basically, what I've read is the speed of light problem is only for particles that have mass, which is why you can have particles like neutrinos that move at the speed of light because they don't have mass, or I guess I don't know if neutrinos have mass, but other particles with no mass don't.
I think we're kind of delving into territory here that scientists really don't fully understand too. Exactly how things work, exactly how information gets transmitted between that, and along the same lines too, like magnets. How do they get? It's like
magic.
Magnets are
magical
really,
mysteries and miracles, man. Come on.
Right. Yeah. It's not really interesting because they have a magnetic field, and we don't really know what a magnetic field is. We just know what it does. It's like, well, how does that information get from the magnet out around to tell things around it to conform to certain properties?
I would I would like to add something to the spirit aliens discussion because it's more on the topic. I hate fucking magnets. So
okay.
So
easy killer.
So if there would be like extra-dimensional or space alien spirits, other than booze, actual spirits, kind of spirit beings, I would figure out there would be some kind of machines made out of like fabric of space or something, like actual just machines, kind of sentient machines made out of something that we just we couldn't ever fathom. And this is just like God of the Gaps argument. I hate fucking God of the Gaps arguments.
I mean, why would a non-physical being need a spaceship? That doesn't.
Yeah, it would probably be.
The Star Trek.
It would be probably something akin to just made out of space fabric, which is basically everywhere at once.
So the idea that they need lights and an enclosed space to inhabit doesn't really make a whole lot of sense if they're spiritual, non-physical beings.
But while aliens, I might say that aliens couldn't get here in our universe, right? But you touched on something, Erno. But what if there are parallel or an infinite number of parallel universes or other dimensions? So that travel between distances is not the issue. All that's the issue is moving from one reality, one universe to another, and it's not a matter of traveling any great distance at all.
And finding the right cornfield to mark out.
See, that's the thing that.
Let me move us on to. I got two other things I want to hit.
Okay.
So
and I got
a
chunk here too. So.
Yeah. We'll touch on this one really briefly about Area 51. Let's see.
Which was recently discussed in Skeptoid, I think.
Oh yeah, the
just briefly.
Military
base thing.
I listened to Skeptoid on that, and I've done a little reading on it as well. I was going to mention there's a book I acquired a while back and I've not yet read that Brian Dunning mentions called Area 51: An Uncensored History of America's Top Secret Military Base by Andy Jacobson. And although skeptics kind of ping it for being a little nutty, it's still something I'm interested in reading it just for shits and grins.
Yep.
So Area 51 has been for a long time been considered a government base, a secret government base where everything from the Roswell crash remains and the aliens and the spacecraft from the Roswell crash were stored, where perhaps we've communicated with interdimensional beings. I believe was it on Coast to Coast where the guy did the call-ins? Like, I used to work in Area 51.
Probably.
Well, we think our aliens are actually interdimensional beings. What was that, Mike?
Bob Lazar. He's the big guy with the Area 51 and how he was involved in reverse engineering alien technology.
Mm-hmm.
I think Area 51 is also where they've discovered that in some of the archive files there is where the only place you can actually find Obama's birth certificate.
Well played. So in 2007, here's something I didn't know until recently. In 2007, the former employees of Area 51 of Groom Lake, their confidentiality contracts were released. Like, they were released with their confidentiality agreements. There's a group of former engineers and employees there known as Roadrunners International. And these are guys that worked on projects like the U-2, Spy Plane, the A-12, the YF-12.
SR-71.
Yeah. The SR-71. Yeah. Which, by the way, I got to see the SR-71 up close at an air show once. Awesome.
Nice. That's a beautiful piece of technology.
I just stood there going, oh.
That's pretty much just what Area 51 probably is, or whatever the actual name for it is. I think Area 51 is just a conspiracy theorist placeholder for the place's name. It's
it was officially referenced.
It's never been called that.
It was officially referenced once in oh gosh, I'll see if I can find it here in a minute. It was officially referenced once, and that kind of latched on, and after that, it was always referred to as something else.
The ranch.
Yeah, and it probably has like a weird crash materials in there, or at least has had at some point, because probably anything Soviet that crashed somewhere, you could get it. It probably was taken into a secret military base.
Well,
but
actually, yeah, the Wright-Patterson has a center to study Soviet. Actually, yeah, they studied Soviet and Chinese aircraft. Area 51 was being used to test the flight performance of those aircraft. Actually, the Roswell wreck was taken to Wright-Patterson, hangar 18, I believe they referred to. I've been to Wright-Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
And, actually, my brother pointed out that where they're keeping the aliens.
Yeah.
It's actually right next to where Air Force One is parked. When they
Nothing to see there though, unless you're into military planes or whatever. I was there and it was dull. Nothing to see there, folks. I was looking for aliens the whole time.
Well,
it's probably just like that. They are doing test flights there, so there's only military hardware, and it's probably not influenced by alien technology.
Well, but here's a question to answer. I mean, NASA is constantly sending up rockets into space, whether it's to put satellites in orbit or to visit the space station or to do whatever, right? But yet we have no official record of those things as they burn up and re-enter the atmosphere. Right. And then when you add to that the fact that we, since the 60s, we haven't been to the moon. No one's gone to the moon after the first guy walked on the moon. Not us, not any other country. So it seems So it seems probable that we actually have a secret military base on the dark side of the moon, and those rockets.
No, that's the Nazis.
And those rockets that NASA is sending up that we never see come back are actually not putting satellites or going to the space station. They are actually supplying our base on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah.
No.
So I've been
actually looking with the Nazis, because it's the Nazis that are in the dark side of the moon.
The Nazis were inside the hollow Earth.
It's run by the boys from Brazil.
I just want to be the source for one conspiracy, okay? I want one conspiracy to come back to me.
I saw the International Space Station, by the way. That's
saw those rockets came down.
That's my only UFO. I was not identified, but it would have been had my dad not said, "Hey, you could see International Space Station tonight." I typed in the computer, and sure enough, at this precise time, and I was right at that precise time, ran outside and saw the space station, and it was awesome. It went so fast and soundless.
Cool.
Oh my God, it soundlessly.
So jealous.
There are actually websites where you can check where the International Space Station is at any given moment.
Yeah, it was incredible though. If someone hadn't warned me, I would have said that was definitely some kind of non-natural thing. It was incredible.
So this picture that I've replaced myself with here is the SR-71 Blackbird. It was a U.S. stealth fighter jet, which was introduced in 1966.
It was a spy plane, not a fighter.
A spy plane. You're right. Sorry, but I mean, just look at this thing. If you were in 1966 and you saw a plane that looked like this, you have no idea what you were looking at. And this was developed at partially at Area 51.
Traveled over 3 times the speed of sound.
And they might actually mount lights or something to evaluate it from like the Earth up. So it's not completely unfeasible that it would be lit.
So, I mean, it barely looks like something we would create today. It's very non-standard.
Is technology not advanced? I mean, when you look at that, you're right. In 30 years, 40 years has passed. Yeah. What's technology been doing?
50 years later.
Well, if you look at the latest, I don't know. If you look at the latest stealth fighters and stealth bombers, they're a little different than that, and actually a little blockier than you would expect.
Yeah, much more angular for radar.
Yeah.
So I'm going to touch basically material science and designing at work.
I'm going to touch briefly on NASA and UFOs, specifically space missions and UFO sightings and space missions. There's more than I'm going to touch on here. I just want to gloss over these real quick. There's the the Apollo 14 mission where Edgar Mitchell claimed to. He's a 6th man who walked on the moon, by the way. Claimed that NASA had been covering up the existence of alien spacecrafts and interaction with aliens, and there's a lot to be said about what he said and a lot to be said about it. Also, NASA just kind of gave a really, that's not true. That was kind of their response. He's all right. No, we respect him, but no, just no. And then
isn't that precious?
If you got to get paid, Edgar, whatever you got to do. And Apollo 11, in the Apollo 11 mission, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins had noted a UFO and paced them for some time. And
it seemed to follow them,
right?
I think.
Yeah. As it turns out, it was a piece from one of the booster rockets that was when the rocket detonated, but when it separates, there's parts that come off of it. And this was a piece that was spinning, and so it's reflecting the sun and flashing at them.
Think about how dangerous that might be if you actually lost an essential part of your own craft and you were just like, hey, we have a UFO following us, instead of trying to figure out what the
that's
hell
our
can
engine.
move.
Oh my gosh.
I was an adapter panel from the S4B third stage.
Better that than an
rocket. There's a few others that I had read about and also heard about on Skeptoid. Which, by the way, I did a lot of my research while reading and listening to Skeptoid.
Yeah, I definitely did some secondary research.
Skeptoid really has a lot of good resources when you go for the links and everything.
For their sources, yeah.
Yeah.
So Michael, you said you had a couple you wanted to throw out, so have at it.
Yeah. So there's a couple years back, I was in another Hangout kind of thing with Derek Bartolomeus, who's part of the Independent Investigation Group, and he and his group have kind of been the definitive investigators of a prolific UFO abductee sighting guy named Billy Meyer. He's a guy from Sweden, and he claims that he's had all sorts of encounters throughout his life from like the 1950s to the present with UFOs and extraterrestrials. He has a bunch of photographs that he says show different aliens, and he claims that he's traveled through time with them and taken photos of dinosaurs. He's traveled throughout the universe with them. He's taken photos of the Earth and of space from non-Earth vantage points. And he had a few different pieces of evidence that he claimed were samples of metal, of an alien metal, a sound recording of a UFO being chased by a Swedish fighter plane, and film footage. And he says that he's been contacted by these aliens from the Pleiades, who call themselves the Plagiarians, and they look like humans from Northern Europe, and which is kind of convenient. And their homeworld is a planet called Era, which is located in the Dahl universe, the sister of our universe, which is about 80 light years beyond the Pleiades, which kind of puts a little question into what he means by the word universe, considering the Pleiades is in our universe. And you can't really go 80 light years beyond our universe to another universe.
Well, that's a kind of interesting thing. If you read old science fiction, sometimes they'll use the word universe instead of galaxy.
It's entirely possible that's what he meant. Yeah, because it's obviously it doesn't make any sense if you consider the universe to be containing all the galaxies. Sorry?
Those are the hottie model pictures. The guy with the blonde.
Yes.
I think they are actually dancers or something.
Yes. So he had a whole bunch of different pieces of evidence. One of the pieces of evidence is what you're talking about. He had these photographs of what he said were alien women. Their names were Asket and Nira. And let's see if I can pull them up here.
Asket and says no. What?
It wasn't ask it and fuck it. No. Okay. Good. Okay.
Oh, that's terrifying.
I had to do that. I know.
Let's see. Yeah. So what I have here is a photo, which he claims to be a photograph of an alien named Asket.
Sweet.
She really looks like a human female.
Alien.
Well,
Amazon.
yeah, they're supposed to look like humans from Northern Europe.
I'm convinced.
Here's a photo of Asket and Nira together.
Really?
Well, you know
You're
what?
Claiming that looks like a Northern European.
That's definitely proof of aliens. I'm totally convinced.
Yeah, but you know what? If that's what they look like, I'm willing to invest in NASA myself. Let's go.
So the truth as determined by the Independent Investigation Group is that these are, where are we here? They are a photograph of a Dean Martin variety show episode. They are two performers from a group called the Gold Diggers.
Yep.
They are...
She's a gold digger.
Asket, the woman on the left, is a dancer named Michelle Delafave. And they appeared, the Gold Diggers and the Dingling Sisters, she was a member of both of those groups, and they appeared on the Dean Martin variety show from 69 to 73.
Sweet.
And she still performs to this day. So in this next picture, here she is. This is her on the right here. And this is another former member of the Gold Diggers here. And I guess in 2007, she became aware that this guy was saying that she was an extraterrestrial, and wrote to the Independent Investigation Group and said that Nira, the woman on the right in this photo, is actually Susan Lund, who appeared on the Dean Martin variety show between 1968 and 1973, the same period of time. And in response to being called an alien, she said, I know that the picture of myself and Susie is from the Dean Martin show when the Gold Diggers were guests on the show. I think it was about 1971, and I did wear my hair with little curls at the side of my face. It amazes me that he chose that picture. I guess it was when they did the reruns in Europe. I don't want anyone thinking I'm causing any problems. I'm simply stating the truth involved with these pictures. I just know a picture of myself when I see one, as anyone else would. I know it was from a segment when the Gold Diggers would sit around Dean and Martin and sing beautiful ballads called Welcome to My World.
Well, I was kind of hoping.
She also sent this picture, which is from the same episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Myers' excuse in response to being called out about this is that the Men in Black and intelligence agencies doctored the photos and inserted them into his collection and pulled out the original ones.
I want to do drugs with this guy because he obviously.
This was in 2001, and from 1983 to 2001. He promoted these and published these multiple times as being his plagiarin ET friends, but now he says they're malicious hoaxes.
Yeah,
and you know what happened?
That's pretty much just like when you catch a kid had ruined something in the living room, and you have to get in. The kid says, "A giraffe did it. It came in and."
Right, the most unbelievable story. But the reason he's changed his story in 2001, the Dean Martin Variety Show came out on home video. And they could go back and look and see that this would.
I'm disappointed. I was truly hoping that all the expenses, all the money that we've invested in the Hubble Space Telescope was nothing more than window peeping, trying to gather porn from this particular part of our universe. Turns out it's not.
Yeah. So there's even
amazing, but they're not that amazing. Come on.
There's even better stuff going on.
You don't live in my neighborhood.
So he also, like I said, he claimed to have time traveled with these aliens to go back to dinosaur times and take photos of dinosaurs. So here's his claimed photo of a pteranodon. I know. I hear you. So
he needs a better camera. He really does.
As it turns out, this isn't quite an episode of time traveling going on here. In fact, the independent investigation group again found out that this is a photograph of an illustration of a pteranodon feeding its young from the 1972 book Life Before Man. Here's the page of the book. Here is the page compared to his photograph.
It's almost as good
and
as
here's the cover of the book.
Use a fishing lure to try to disprove evolution. That's almost.
Yeah, you know what's funny? If these aliens are so powerful and they have the technology to go back in time and stuff, the government cover-up people would be nothing compared to them.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. What else do I have here?
His nice friends with their fancy technology don't get him a good camera. That's interesting.
Oh, Billy Meyer is the guy who took the photograph, which became the iconic "I Want to Believe" photo in the X-File, the poster in the X-Files. So that UFO picture is his.
I don't remember that.
Oh, wait.
He also claimed to have taken a photograph of what has been called the fire ship. So it's this spinning, whirling disc that was shooting off sparks.
There's a guy in front of that.
It's a time. Let me guess. It's a time-lapse welder.
No, it actually seems like a fire dancer with a long exposure.
He expected nobody would ever see that person, and he claims that this guy in the photo was pointing at the spaceship as it was setting off sparks, and that you can tell because, there's no blurring on his hand, it's standing still.
What?
But, of course, this is what it could also look like.
Yeah.
Which is a man who's taken steel wool, put it in some kind of a container, attached it to a rope, and swung it around his head after lighting it on fire.
Yeah, that's just a long exposure photograph of some kind of fire dancer.
You just get someone to take a photo with a long exposure, and you're good to go. And as you can tell from this photo, this guy isn't blurry, even though he's swinging this thing around him. So the idea that it couldn't be faked because it's not blurry. And he also said that you can't see any sparks flying off and bouncing anywhere in this picture.
What?
So it couldn't possibly be that. Right there.
Wait.
These are from the original photo. You can see sparks bouncing off the ground.
Wait. There's like dozens of sparks there.
Yes,
how could you miss those?
See, one of Billy Meyer's key arguments is that I guess part of his mindset is he never really figured that people would be able to fake this stuff. He never thought that somebody would be able to figure out that this stuff was fake.
But isn't it the claim of any UFO nut person that you can't fake this, and people just find ways and ways and ways and more ways of faking it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, but so there's a whole bunch of on the iigwest.org/investigations/Meyer. That's MEIER. There's a very thorough debunking of all of the various photographs and videos and sound recordings he's made. He had some independent people who supported him investigate the metal samples that he had, and they said that they had weird crystalline structures, and their spectrography came off looking like it couldn't possibly have been formed on Earth, when in fact the actual independent investigators found out that you could create the sort of structures you were seeing in just a machine shop somewhere with normal tools, and that it was just aluminum with some sort of weird, what's it called, breaking radiation? It's radiation when you have particles bouncing off of other particles. I don't know, but and it fully accounted for the weird spectrography stuff that was going on.
So kind of analogous to like after John has a date and he says she couldn't possibly have been faking it. We all. After independent study, we all realize that that's not really the case.
So that's not even the best part. The best part is that while he was younger, Billy Meyer went on this worldwide tour.
That's all I'm saying.
That's okay. That's right.
When he was younger, Meyer went on this big worldwide tour of 12 different countries, or 12 years, 42 countries, and he was going on a spiritual quest to learn about the nature of reality and whatever. And
Can I insert the point on Myers here? He probably made a shit ton of money, so he has all the incentive to just keep on telling the same old bullshit stories.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that he knows this is fake. That's the thing. I mean, it's not one of these guys who thinks he's really got evidence.
That would be a charlatan then.
Because obviously, I mean, it's just not real. But it's on his journey across the world, he got into a bus accident and lost one of his arms. And he uses this as an argument to say that he could not be faking these things because I couldn't build a model and then hold it up while taking a photograph.
Oh my God!
He doesn't understand the concept of an accomplice.
I'm convinced.
Wow.
So
on the side thing, remember the blue shift radiation that turns into gamma? There was another point on that too. Just while we were talking about it, it was like, and I thought it was kind of cool. They said if you could approach the speed of light, they said if you ran into a particle the size of a grain of sand, okay, in space, it would carry roughly the equivalent energy as the nuclear bomb we dropped over Hiroshima.
Jesus.
Each and every one, because of the velocity.
What were those?
What? Oh,
these are some of his photographs.
That's cool. I like that one.
So this is what has been dubbed the wedding cake UFO.
Yeah. I actually like the photo. It's a photo. Technically, the wedding cake is pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. The thing is, this tree here you see in the photo is in several of his photographs. And
he does.
But the thing is that he says that these photographs were all taken in different places. So we have a wandering tree problem.
By that he means he stepped a few paces left or right.
No, like literally in different countries.
Where that tree doesn't grow. It's like, this is only available in Sweden, but here's my picture.
That debunks my debunking.
Yes, this is another one of his photographs.
Collection plate at church.
Yeah,
this is the wedding cake again.
That's what you'd call a forced perspective in photography.
Right, exactly. But one of the earliest debunkers of his photographs used things like that. Like he used light analysis to determine where the light would have to be coming from to take these photographs. And it's pretty obvious this is pretty close to the light source.
Yeah, a bit.
And there's like different problems. It seems that the light is not like coming from a uniform source. It seems that it's somehow scattered.
Yeah, he's using some kind of reflector or some kind of silver thing to make, because the car lighting isn't the same as the wrong on many levels.
So the great part about this UFO though is that Derek Bartolomeus from the Independent Investigation Group figured out how to rebuild it completely. So this part here, you see the base of this UFO is the rim of this container here. And let's see, he goes through all the different parts. Like there's these little things that stick out here, which are some sort of a fastener.
I was like, are those ball bears?
And you can see from this
Those are
photograph,
things you
one of
use
them
on
has
like a-
fallen. So apparently this can just fall off of the UFO without causing any problem.
I mean, who would find these things convincing? That's just
See, that's the thing, is that a lot of ufologists think he's a fake. A lot of them, like even Stanton Friedman, who's this big-time ufologist, thinks that this guy's just a complete fake. But there are all sorts of people who still believe him. So, like, these things, all these little orbs around this UFO are Christmas ornaments.
Nice.
They are little
Merry
spherical
Christmas,
Christmas ornaments.
Yeah, Christmas seems to come earlier every year.
God.
So let's see. There you go. It's an altered version of a photograph from before to show about how big this thing really would be.
Didn't they get a one-armed guy to do it at some point to build some of this stuff? I remember vaguely something about that. And I thought that was
They did make their own UFO, which you can see. This is the IIG made their own photographs, their own fake UFO, and made them look like Billy Meyer photographs. In fact, they made them look a little bit better.
I'm gonna say theirs are better.
Lighting-wise.
Yeah. I mean.
But you can kind of see the line.
The outline, yeah.
And there's I think the problem with these fakes is that there's too many reference points. You can actually pretty easily tell that it's a fake just because you have clear tree lines and everything, instead of like having something like the predactoral here or something. Yeah.
Well,
Something that's just in the air and you can't compare it.
So couldn't somebody? I mean, it would seem that when you look at movies and movie studios, Industrial Light and Magic, whoever, it would seem like we certainly now have the technology to be able to create a photo that could not be so easily dismissed or analyzed. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Well, people who do Photoshop will do a pretty bang-up job of being able to point out layering and pointing out, how when you know how the magic is done, it's more easy to spot.
Yeah. So
but you could really fool me with a well-done CGI spaceship.
Sure, I could be fooled, but there are people
Right. Put a lot of those on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, when you created it at pixel level, yeah, you could.
Because there's limited. You could actually blend it again just by making it. Let's say you make it at 20 megapixels, and then you turn it into a lower amount of pixels, which would be like your regular hand camera. You could actually fade the information that's the blending layers. You could probably fade it away. I'm not sure. I haven't done anything like this.
I could be fooled. I just think there are people that would be able to pick it apart for you.
There's a pretty common tool you can use for digital photography that will show you like places where it's been touched up and where it's been touched up more and less.
Yeah.
There's
always flaws with that though. So like if one of the things that happened with Billy Meyer is that he sent one of his photographs to a photographic expert who did all sorts of testing on it to try to detect any sort of hoaxery going on. But what happened is he had a second-generation print, which means he had a print that had been made from another print rather than from the original negatives.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't detect any signs of fakery. But if it's like taking a photograph of a fake photo.
Right.
You're not going to find any. There's some of the signs of it being a fake are going to disappear.
Yeah, it's the old cliche of every copy loses information.
Yeah.
So with like the tool you're talking about, there's the digital. Like it detects how much JPEG compression or whatever there is in an image. If you applied a blur effect to the whole image, you could instantly remove a whole lot of that indication of what had been modified. Mm-hmm. So,
except it's mathematical blur usually. So
yes, exactly.
Do some sort of random
symmetry to the blur. Yeah, there's a pattern to the blur. So
yeah,
computers don't do random. That's the thing.
Unless you get some sort of random data from the outside, like from a microphone noise,
yeah, like
the outside world or something.
Radiation source or something that is completely random.
So, beyond the goofy, terrible, obviously fake photographs, Billy Meyer had a whole bunch of claims that he made. He claimed that he had his first contact when he was 5 years old by an elderly extraterrestrial man named Safath.
Cthulhu? What?
Safath, S-F-A-T-H. And he had contacts from the 40s until the modern day, apparently, with Safath and his women from his family. He claims to have gone to different worlds, different galaxies, different universes. There's a 26-volume set of books. I'm going to slaughter the name here. It's in German. The Pleiadisch Kontaktbericht. It's the Pleiades-Plagiaran contact reports. 26 volumes of notes that he took while he was on the journeys. And they talk about things like spirituality, the afterlife, dangers of mainstream religion, human history, astronomy, ecology, global overpopulation, and even prophecies about the future. I guess he's predicted things like World War III. And the IIG has even covered those and talked about what's wrong with his prophecies. But some of the things that he learned from the aliens is, let's see, our sun has a dark twin, which is located a light year away, and we live in a binary star system, apparently, at a distance
So we
of a
haven't
light
figured
year.
that out yet?
Yeah, apparently not. There are 280 chemical elements in the universe, but it's a law of the universe that no single star contains all of them. The next inhabited star system is about 5 light years from Earth. Different worlds in that system are inhabited by human forms of life, and one of the planets located there is called Akart. There was another planet in our solar system called Malona, which is destroyed by its inhabitants. The asteroid belt is the remnants of that planet. And, best of all, our universe is around 46 trillion years old, not billions of years old, as our scientists
Wait a minute.
claim.
It was called Malona?
Malona, M-A-L-O-N-A. Yep.
That rings a bell for some reason. Hang on.
Yeah. And in 1963,
Moroni.
he says that
No,
in a
not
tomb
that.
south of the old city of Jerusalem, he and a friend discovered ancient Aramaic scrolls, which, when translated, were the original teachings and life events of Jesus Christ.
What?
Nice.
Yup.
That's very all-encompassing.
That's
He's
20
a
pounds
very
of
varied
bullshit in
man.
a 5-pound bag. That is amazing how much bullshit is crammed into
Yeah.
such a space. Like the
And-
bullshit per words is amazing.
Back in '97,
but I
his
think
wife-
he depends on publishing something new, and he's just run out, like
Oh, definitely.
completely run out. So he just makes more outrageous claims. He has to. He has to.
Yeah.
Well,
Back in
This is from...
there's Michael Horn, who's been his one of his
yes,
press guys. So and he's
Chapter
apparently he's
3.
trying to keep the
the
story
money running.
alive.
Yeah, and I think you should, if you want to know more about Michael Horn, you should listen to what's the Merseyside Skeptics Society's show where
Skeptics with a K.
Yeah.
the one where they interview the bullshit masters.
Oh yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, that's a really good podcast.
I don't know. I haven't heard that one.
I think they interviewed Michael Horn just like 2 episodes ago.
Wait a minute. What year was that, Mike, that we were talking about Malona? What?
That was between, let's see, like the 50s, 60s, 70s. He said that he'd been traveling all over the world, all over the universe, and that was one of the things that they had told him.
There was a book in 1953 by a guy named George Hunt Williamson called Other Tongues, Other Flesh, which was basically a UFO sci-fi thing with Malona in it.
Really?
Oh wow, good find. Very cool.
Yeah. I wonder if that was before or after he wrote his
Maldek
book.
and Malona.
Huh.
In Chapter 3.
Is that
It's
how
online.
you the name?
Here's a link to the... Yeah,
We might be breaking news here, folks.
Okay, whoa. Hey, all right. Did I put that? Okay, there you go. Is it in? No, I'm sorry, I didn't. I can't do the chat thing for some reason. It won't let me type anything in the chat. Let me go to our chat here. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go.
Let's see.
If you back up to the out of OTOF, it'll take you to page 1 of the book. But that's the chapter 3 that it's Malona comes from.
Maldek and Malona by George Hunt Williamson, 1953.
So it's older, I think.
And it is a UFO space type thing with with Satan in there, Lucifer's in there. There's a few other characters you might recognize.
So he's just actually ripping off everyone else.
Maybe,
too.
yeah.
He might be.
We don't have such strict libel laws here. We can talk shit like that. We're not in England. We can say things like that.
Yeah, I don't know what my libel laws are like, so I'm not going to say anything that might endanger my well-being.
Yeah, so am I. It has a lot of similarities.
Because that was 1953.
Yep.
And let's see.
So it would put it in the right time frame to be plagiarized, that's for sure.
He was born in 1937, so he would have been 16 years old then.
Reading that kind of stuff.
So the chances that he didn't read this and then come up with the name Malona are pretty slim.
It could have been subliminal too. He may have read it and then later on
reinvented
the name.
He even says that between 1953 and 1964, he was in contact with an extraterrestrial woman named Asket, who was one of the dancers that I showed you the picture of.
Well, you know what? I haven't looked in here, but maybe I should do a quick search here and just see if there's an Asket in here anywhere.
Yeah, that would be.
But what's not on that? Okay, so not on that page. But let me go back to the. Oh, I'm in the wrong place.
That's really interesting.
I'm saying, hey, where the heck did it go? Other tongues. Here we are. Okay. There's no Asket on this page, but we'll work on it.
Yeah. So
if you get it on Kindle, it'll find it.
I'm going to go ahead and move us on then, unless Michael has anything else to cover.
The only other thing I wanted to cover is he had a recording of what he said was a Swedish fighter jet flying after a spaceship, and like you said, Michael Horn was his publicist for a while, and he was putting all sorts of documents up on his own website talking about this summary of the investigation into this recording, and he claimed that they had found 24 frequencies that were within the human range of hearing and 8 that weren't. But in 2008, it was conclusively shown that there was no way for an audio cassette tape to record any sounds that were outside of the range of human hearing. And he said that instead, the 8 inaudible sounds were determined through calculations in a formula based on existing sounds.
What?
But on his own website, he has another document that says that they found all 32 frequencies concurrently at different amplitudes and volumes, and that they are produced simultaneously. So either they were determined through calculations in a formula based on the existing sounds, or they were part of the original recording. And the IIG also has an email exchange back and forth between them and Michael Horn, where he admits to intentionally posting false and misleading articles on his website in order to deceive the public about the claims of Billy Meyer.
Here's with that same person. He, the author, had an association with a Nazi, William Dudley Pelley, in the 50s. And what's interesting, when you talk about plagiarism, it says this book fell into the public domain in the U.S. because it was not renewed at the U.S. Copyright Office in a timely fashion. It is not currently in the public domain in any other country. So it's ripe for plagiarism, I would think.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think we found it. I think we found the key, guys.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Our cease and desist order to follow.
Right.
All right. Well, Brandy did some research for us on ancient aliens today. So.
Oh, cool.
Oh, and our friend Dumbass is very familiar with those as well, too.
You call it whatever you want. Research, whatever.
Yeah, I am the Tom of this operation where I do next to nothing. I'd show up and have it on time. So I thought, well, I should at least watch some Ancient Aliens. And then first dismayed to find out that I pay for a Hulu and Netflix and all this, and it wasn't available on any of those. I actually had to go to history.com, bullshit that was, and watch the episodes there. So, yeah, again, thank you, technology. Thank you,
Remember when they were all Nazis all the time?
Yeah, World War II channel, I used to call it.
Everything, yeah. So Ancient Aliens, I watched 2. One was basically like, did we evolve as Darwin says we evolved, or
really
were we panspermized essentially? Like either panspermia.
I was not spermized.
Or did they interfere with our evolution during certain points? Because all of a sudden we have Fox P2. I'm like, what? Wait! Like so many red lights they ran, and then Fox P2. I'm like. That's the thing that allows us to speak. Like, well, some of us are misusing our Fox P2. That's all I can say after watching.
That's cool.
Oh, it's terrible. Like, well, and they're bringing up all kinds of things about monkeys, and they ran so many red lights. I don't have anything intelligent to say other than what.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
What?
That was that one. That was the Ancient Aliens on Where Do We Come From. There was that one, and I watched another one about. Lost Civilizations, where they showed all kinds of interesting architecture and the Mayans, and they're saying, and all of a sudden the Mayans disappeared. I'm like, no, you can call those people. What do you mean they disappeared? You can call them.
You can go buy some jewelry from them in a Mexican stand somewhere.
You can ask
them, they disappeared, and Cortez had nothing to do with it.
They are literally selling trinkets at the Mayan ruins in Mexico.
You can go and say, can I help you? I understand you guys are in some trouble with your land. Like, it's just, again, so many red lights. So many problems. Again, it was not even it was just, like, you didn't even try. You're not even trying. And it was always the same experts, no matter what they were talking about, evolution or ancient civilizations, the same 2 experts on there.
Did they ever bring Ramtha in?
Not to mention that
The guy with
They
the
actually made the same claim as creationists do, as far as evolution goes.
Yeah.
That evolution
George
just
Tsoukalos.
random mutation doesn't go this way. They did the whole card thing where you can, yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah,
it was.
if you want to see a website with a lot of ancient alien claims, it's BibleUFO.com, I believe.
Bible UFO.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's actually a really good YouTube series. I don't remember the name, but it is done by a Christian, so he has the motive to prove that ancient aliens is wrong.
Debunked video.
But it's really good. The actual factual statement.
Until he suddenly brings in Noah's flood.
Yeah.
Wiped them all out.
But I mean, he doesn't claim any Bible things in the beginning parts where he actually debunks the.
Some pretty good critical thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
The Noah's flood thing is actually a thing that archaeologists were considering for a while, and it was an actual theory, but I think that has gone by the wayside now.
The way of the dodo, yes.
Yeah.
The way of the Bigfoot.
Hey, here you go, Michael. A snippet from the book, like this. It says, communication with extraterrestrial intelligences also began at the same time. The father of wireless, Marconi, in 1921 believed he had intercepted messages from Mars or some point in outer space. Marconi conducted highly secret experiments before 1921 and knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that he was in direct contact with beings of other worlds.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And Malona, your girl Malona, or boy Malona, also visited the prophet Ezekiel, which is how he was able to prophesy, because he was given information about the future from the aliens.
Okay. Well, Malona was supposed to be another planet.
Malona was a planet.
So.
Okay. But yeah, I might have.
That's not our source for
a little bit,
unfortunately.
Well,
if anybody's interested in the Moai, the Easter Island heads, I recently read a good book about that called "The Statues That Walked," and basically, evidence seems to show that the way they did it was because the Moai, they're like bottom heavy, they're like very low center of gravity. They just like get ropes and pull them and walk them like you would a refrigerator.
Oh, that's cool.
And they found what they call conchoidal fractures on the bottom, which are pretty much exactly what you'd expect to find for things that were moved that way.
I got a couple of Q&As here. We'll hit that, and then I'm going to throw it to Erno. Barry J. Sullivan says, nice of you guys to hook up.
Well, thank you, Barry.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
And Ruben, I'm going to kill this name. Ruben.
Heunusa.
Yeah, good enough for me. you did that
I
better
don't
than I
think
could
that's a
have.
single person.
And Select and JRN and Delican. Sorry. Says, hi, do you guys know the Dutch YouTube gathering in Holland? I'm not aware, but I will look it up after the show.
Does that have to do with UFOs, I wonder?
Could be.
It might be.
Okay, so Erno had something to throw at us real quick.
Yeah, what we've really not talked about is the actual cultural implication of aliens, like what aliens might be, and there's I think the theory is that they're probably akin to sleep paralysis or something. So.
What causes the sightings and such?
Yeah, because it often happens when you're in bed, and it's actually really funny because the Finnish word for nightmare is like painajainen, which roughly means something that pushes on you. So
incubus.
Interesting.
Yeah, so aliens are basically today's form of incubi and succubi and hags and things that press on your chest. And it used to be really culturally tied. It's not a happenstance that the guy, Billy Myers, claims that aliens are Scandinavian types. Because before the Betty and Barney Hill incident, in Europe, almost all aliens were tall, Nordic-type blonde people.
Ooh, I welcome our alien overlords. Again, I say I welcome our alien overlords.
Tall and Nordic, all right.
So,
bring it. Can you connect
that
can you connect that to Hitler at all? I mean, sounds like we're on our way there, right?
Well, maybe Hitler was brainwashed by the aliens.
They were very Aryan in appearance, maybe.
Yeah.
And,
that's it. Somebody with a speech impediment was trying to say alien, and he said Aryan.
Maybe they were Japanese.
Oh.
You just said what I was
sorry.
thinking.
Maybe all the evil
Aryan, not
lizard
Aryan.
man.
Aryan.
Oh my God.
Aryan, damn it!
Kill the Aryans! What?
Oh my.
Yeah, that's wow. Okay, we just lost
Send your hate mail.
Alright,
the
so-
universe.
Send hate mail to Carlton.
Yeah, send all hate mail to jonathan.onme@gmail.com. I will reply to you. I promise I will reply to you. It may not be what you want to hear, but I will respond.
Email and death threats to Carlton. He's at Carlton George on Twitter. That's
Yeah,
right.
right here,
You may
guys.
receive a picture of balls in response.
I wish we kind of had a.
My balls.
Lady Blue Balls. Woo!
Okay,
I
so
wish we had an email for hate mail.
So we had a
unless,
subject. that we were
unless,
talking
unless I
about.
missed anyone here, does anyone else have anything they want to throw out real quickly before I wrap it up here?
Did we get Mr. Bowler's take?
That's what I want to know, Mike. Mike and Dumbass, you guys have anything else you want to
Yeah.
throw?
Dumbass has been very quiet as well.
Yeah.
I've said a few things.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way,
Well,
Mike,
you know-
you're awesome on Cognitive Dissonance. Awesome.
Oh.
Yes.
Thank you.
God,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
excellent.
I just listened to that, Mike. That was a great episode.
I was shocked by how talkative you were.
Yeah, I had planned to mention that before we left, but Mike, you were super talkative and cut
talk
loose on
shit.
cognitive dissonance. I will send you alcohol if that's what I have to do to get you to cut loose like that on here.
That was great. Talking
Give
shit
me an
about.
address. Give me an address. I will mail you alcohol or caffeine drink quantities.
No, it's just normal. But these guys have so much energy. I mean, that was the thing. It's like all of a sudden you start feeding off that energy. It's like it was way cool. I mean,
So are you claiming that we are boring?
What?
no.
Yeah.
We don't have energy.
I will say this. If we were boring, Mike Bowler would not have attended every last hangout we've done
Right.
since this started.
I would not miss this. This is the highlight of. I have no life, so I got to do something.
Oh. Said that. I was like, that's not true.
So to wrap it up, last weekend I drove 1,100 miles back to Oklahoma City, and I was going to tell Mike Bowler I re-listened to some of and finished listened to the last episode of the JFK conspiracy and a couple other shows. I just went on a marathon for a couple of hours, and it was very excellent. And thank you for mentioning the hangout, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So a couple of thanks. People have asked us questions. Thanks to Bill, Thomas, Eric, Barry, and Ruben et al. Since I don't know what all those acronyms meant for the questions during the show. I hope we answered everything as best as we could. Thanks to Brian Dunning and Skeptoid for all the information I got from there, which was a ton.
Thanks to Derek Bartholomeus and the other folks at the Independent Investigation Group for me. They were the primary source for a lot of the stuff that I looked up. Absolutely. And they did a great job. You should definitely visit their website at, investigations / Meyer, MEIER, to get any more information that I obviously skipped. There's a lot of it there. They did a great job.
Yeah, I was going to mention I
can't read.
I was going to mention I'm going to put links to all the references that we mentioned in the show. I'll put a link to the history.com website where Brandy watched Ancient Aliens. And I was going to throw out a couple books I read and one I reread, or parts of. I didn't read all of these during the week, but Carl Sagan's Demon Haunted World.
Yes, that's
a fantastic book on skeptical thinking in general. I absolutely recommend it. Erno touched on a point when he was talking about night terrors or sleep paralysis. I was going to mention that actually, having read about that in this book.
I've actually had sleep paralysis before. It's kind of freaky.
Oh, it is terrifying.
Yeah. Another I was going to mention by Alan Baker is the Encyclopedia of Alien Encounters. It's
from Abduction
fantastic.
to Yeti.
it is super cool. There's all kinds of neat stuff in there. Another by John B. Alexander, UFOs, Myths, Conspiracies, and Realities. That's interesting. And one I actually didn't get to start and meant to, but I'll throw it out here anyway, by David M. Jacobs, UFOs and Abductions, Challenging the Borders of Knowledge. So I'll put links to all these books and the other ones that we mentioned on the comments for the Hangout.
Somebody went to the library.
I did. And there's this family sitting at a table right by the section where all the UFO books were, and these two kids kept looking over at me, and I was like, man, here I'm the kook over here thumbing through all the UFO books. I can't be in the science or math section. Like, what are these kids seeing? Like, look, there's some.
I promise I'm not a
UFOs.
crazy person.
I was like, damn it.
They're putting their arms around their kids, pulling the kids closer, like, because you're nuts.
Stay away from Scary Man.
He's like 8 feet tall, so that doesn't help.
So thanks everyone for watching. We put my email address in there, so if you want to send me email or hate mail, then have at it.
We should have a hate mail address of our own.
Yeah, we should probably do that so I don't get my inbox swamped with spam.
Yeah, swamped with 3 emails.
From the all one person that ever watches this all the way through.
Well, I do have a hate mail address. If anybody wants to sign me up for some crazy mailing lists of any kind, like crazy religious people, crazy like UFO people, godlesshatemail@gmail.com. Go ahead and use that one. I will definitely sign up for whatever mailing list you toss at me.
So that'll be it for the broadcast. Thanks, everyone.